believe you know everything there is to know about Chrissy and Jim Jones, but you should reconsider. Is going to be turned upside down. What if I told you that Jim's foes weren't the ones who betrayed him the most? It's not just a little secret. It's the kind of bombshell that could come from Chrissy, the person he trusted the most. Break their entire world. Cameron's family has just revealed a dark reality in one bombshell after another. It's difficult to comprehend that Jim is left standing while Chrissy's life is about to be revealed in a way that nobody anticipated. What do you do when the person you love is concealing the most sinister truths from you? You are alone, deceived, and caught off guard. Never assume that this isn't merely rumors. It's going to be a full-on expose of everything you were unaware of and unable to have envisioned. Pay attention because, believe me, if you believe you've heard the worst, you're not quite as bad as you believe. But what if I told you everything you? What if the ideal connection you've been watching on TV for more than 10 years was not what you believed you know about Chrissy Lampkin? What if Jim Jones, the guy who has trusted her for so long, is suddenly the victim of a web of lies? Hold on, because this is more than just rumors. This is a betrayal so profound that it might destroy everything he's created. You'll have to look at Jim Jones when the truth bomb detonates on the streets of Harlem and beyond. Let's take a closer look at Chrissy Lampkin, who has been instrumental in establishing Jim's career. Has just dropped a bombshell that nobody anticipated. And it's not only Jim who's been there for him through the highs and lows. Lampkin is embroiled in a controversy so significant that it has the potential to ruin Jim's career. Reveal the unpleasant reality that no one was aware of. You've seen the glitzy photos, the public appearances, and the behind the scenes. It's a different story. Yes, Cameron's family, when he scores a few goals, has just revealed the startling reality that Jim was unaware of. We're discussing secrets so profound and sinister that they might cause everything to fall apart. Consider it, Chrissy, the woman who has supported Jim for years. Jim is forced to pick up the pieces as the truth about his double life is revealed. It's like a cold slap. In the face of Jim and everyone who followed their tale, this is genuine and not simply a reality TV drama. The epitome of treachery in life. And how did we end ourselves here? Cameron, a man who has never shied away from voicing his opinions, has simply lifted the veil and revealed the reality of Chrissy's covered existence, which she had been leading for years. Disguised, she has been portraying herself as Jim's rock, but Cameron's family has disclosed that Chrissy has engaged in dubious activities, covert liaisons, and even commercial ventures that have weakened Jim's. You can only conceal the truth for a certain amount of time. And now it's revealing in the most dramatic manner possible that Chrissy's life is a labyrinth of lies, rather than merely a reality show. Jim is the man who was left amid the wreckage, blindsided by the convoluted situation that is impossible to ignore. Betrayal of someone he believed he could trust most, but let's discuss how deeply ingrained the secrets are. Chrissy is concealing information concerning much more serious business misconduct than infidelity or cheating. Dubious transactions and covert manipulations that were meticulously concealed from Jim for years made Cameron the man. He just revealed everything, and now everyone is watching as Jim's life falls apart in front of them. Let's discuss the first of many mysteries, which includes betrayal and financial power that Jim trusted for years. With his business as well as his passion, Chrissy has collaborated on numerous cooperative projects, ventures, and even established an empire, while Chrissy has been conducting her own clandestine business behind the scenes using. According to people familiar with the situation, Chrissy has been using her position to influence events in her favor. Engaged in several dubious financial transactions of which Jim was unaware, these transactions resulted in losses and negative The worst thing about these arrangements is that Jim is now being held accountable for all of the investments because Chrissy kept him in the dark, threatened to destroy Jim's whole business while he supported her and had complete faith in her. And let's not forget about the private aspects of this issue, including Chrissy's affairs and her covered existence that has been going on for years, are discussing covert connections, secret travel, and ties with people Jim wouldn't even think of. Could ruin him if they ever had the chance. Cameron was aware of this, and his family had access to it. The matter for some time, but kept quiet out of loyalty to Jim. But now that the truth is out, they're no longer. The world now knows that the man who launched Jim's career has had enough of being silent. The reality of Chrissy's dubious activities and treachery, but it goes beyond money. And Jim believed he had loyalty and trust with Chrissy, but now he's been abandoned. This is about those two things, not affairs. Alone to confront the fact that all he has done is wrong. Alone to pick up the pieces of a career that is about to fall apart. Since his belief that he was aware of Chrissy was based on false information, why is Cameron acting in this way and revealing Chrissy now? Is it because of his and Jim's personal history, or is it because Cameron has finally seen? Chrissy has been playing games that have harmed Jim more than anyone could have, and enough of them. Here's the thing. Cameron is tired of the falsehoods and will no longer allow Chrissy to get away with it. He has gone to social media and the streets, where he is now disclosing all of Chrissy's secrets. There's no turning back, and Jim is stuck holding the bag while Chrissy has been engaging in risky behavior. How far did this treachery go, though? Was it merely business-related, or is there more to the story? Is Chrissy concealing something even more sinister? We're just getting started, and the truth is going to destroy. So secrets Jim was unaware of continue to exist. When you believe you know all you believe to be true, the truth always stings, doesn't it? Secure breaks down in front of your eyes, and Jim is experiencing it right now. Jones's profound betrayal by Chrissy Lampkin, the person he believed to be his rock, and whom he trusted, is playing out in the most public humiliation way possible. But the consequences from these discoveries is only the beginning of the true catastrophe. Jim Jones, the hip-hop tycoon, is on the verge of losing everything that he has worked so hard to build. Reputation, the very empire he has spent years constructing. And it is all because to Chrissy. However, there is a twist. Chrissy isn't only looking out for herself. Cameron's family has been subtly revealing the extent of this betrayal. Beyond monetary losses and covert relationships, Chrissy was a part of a network and an entire covered enterprise. Well, and now that the world is beginning to piece things together, let's dissect why Chrissy wasn't. She was playing both sides, pulling strings behind Jim's back. Cameron, Jim's closest comrade, has never completely believed Chrissy for years, but Jim was unaware of Cameron's concerns, and let's be honest, everyone was Jim. Was engrossed in the fantasy that he and Chrissy were the ideal power couple. But now that it's getting nasty now that everything is falling apart piece by piece. Chrissy's falsehoods were more than merely. Her personal financial schemes are being exposed, and they are larger than anyone could have imagined. Imaginary Cameron's family has revealed shocking information concerning dubious business practices that have harmed Jim as well as violated his trust, to such an extent that it's nearly impossible to understand that Chrissy was serving as the gatekeeper, keeping Jim in the dark about financial decisions that ought to have been discussed, and Jim is currently dealing with. For those unaware of her covert tactics, Chrissy was the mastermind behind a few. Jim was unaware that dubious investments were being made in his name, whether they were from companies that stole off. According to people familiar with the matter, Jim was left holding the bag when the bills were due because of money or dubious real estate transactions. That Chrissy exploited Jim's faith in her with everything, but much worse, Chrissy is supposed to be. This faithful companion of Jim's isn't she? She's been negotiating behind Jim's back with some of his. When you consider it, Chrissy has engaged in backroom transactions with those who have always had it out. Her actions have been endangering Jim's empire. This is not simply a commercial matter, it is a personal one. And Jim is now left attempting to make everything right. But the harm has already been done, and the public outcry is only getting started as the tale becomes viral. Fans and other celebrities are commenting, and the responses are everywhere. Some people are even calling. While some people are categorically calling Chrissy a villain, Jim's own circle is the most startling aspect. After this bombshell, they are beginning to distance themselves from him, uncertain of his allegiances. Well, this is when it truly becomes hurtful. Jim has experienced not only a personal betrayal, but he is now coping with. When the story began to circulate, everyone began speculating about the public repercussions. And you understand that once the truth is revealed, there is no going back, and Jim must now confront his own public. Demise while attempting to determine whether Chrissy was behind the scenes, pulling all the strings for Cameron, who's Jim feels personally accountable for not seeing this coming sooner, according to one of his closest friends. For years, insider Cameron had warned Jim that something wasn't right with Chrissy, but Jim was too distracted by his. He never thought the lady he had been dating for so long would be complicit in such a plot, but suddenly, Cameron is unable to contain himself any longer. Having a friend involved in a negative situation is one thing. Circumstance, but you have no choice but to speak up now when it puts everything you've worked for in jeopardy. Legal issues are imminent, and Jim could potentially be subject to government action or lawsuits. Inquiries into the dubious transactions Chrissy was a part in if it is established that she deceived him by using his name. Jim might be held liable for some of the debts and assets used to make fraudulent investments. Jim faces the very real risk of a financial collapse given the current state of affairs, yet the public. Fans who formerly looked up to Jim and Chrissy are now doubting their commitment since fallout is just as cruel. How could they be so naive that they could have been tricked into thinking this was a true love story when it was actually simply a... Jim's fan base is beginning to grow, and Chrissy has experienced quick pushback. The world is now confronting the difficult questions of who Jim was actually working for, as his reputation has been damaged. Over the years, Cameron's family has even released tapes that detail some of. These released tapes include the most startling disclosures on Chrissy's double life that anyone could have imagined. Chrissy was heard on tape discussing how she tried to ruin Jim's career by tarnishing his reputation by linking him to. These tapes are quite explosive and contain unscrupulous characters who were initially trying to destroy him. They have only served to increase public indignation, not to mention the roaring social media inferno. Hip-hop artists and social media influencers alike are currently chiming in and sharing their thoughts on them. Fans are going crazy about situation-shy Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's unwarranted popularity. Another tweet states, "Jim, you've been played, and we all saw it coming." Chrissy has been nothing but manipulative. Jim deserves better. However, there is a negative aspect to all of this, as people are now wondering how much of Jim's success was based on. Was Chrissy's influence the only factor that contributed to Jim's success, or was she keeping him in check? Throughout the entire period, there has been constant speculation, and the truth gets more. Public indignation, financial turmoil, and a convoluted legal battle are only the beginning of this mess. There is unsure of how far this could go, but one thing is for sure. Jim Jones is currently at a crossroads that involves more than just now that we know the full scope of Chrissy Lynn's treason, but a total collapse of his enterprise. Disloyalty, but the question still stands as the narrative progresses, and Jim Jones encounters the severe reality of losing his empire, his reputation, his personal relationships, and possibly even his freedom. What originally appeared to be a fairy tale romance is now becoming evident due to Chrissy's machinations, has now become a nightmare that anyone anticipated, with the media and public backlash spreading like wildfire. As the world watches, the circus around Jim and Chrissy gets more intense every day, and it's not only about Jim's career these days, it's about friendships falling apart, trust being broken, and everything possibly being destroyed. Cameron's family has taken it upon themselves to continue the inquiry, which Jim has worked so hard to develop, together to reveal an increasing number of Chrissy's sinister secrets, and what's emerging is unquestionably incredible. Secret documents and private tapes have come to light, demonstrating Chrissy's role in Jim's financial disaster wasn't an accident. Rather, it was the result of a carefully considered conspiracy that was planned to seize Jim's wealth and destroy his career. But why did Chrissy stand to gain? Let's break it. Nonetheless, according to those familiar with the matter, Chrissy was playing a long game and wasn't just interested in making money. She wanted to make sure she had a firm grip on Jim's position because she knew it was growing. In the future, she planned a number of investments and commercial endeavors, all of which were intended to drain a portion of Jim's fortune while keeping him in the dark, since she intended to be in charge in the end. Not Jim, but here's the twist, is that more of Chrissy's dubious activities are revealed, and it turns out that she wasn't merely planning to harm Jim. She was, additionally, working covertly with those Jim had trusted who were taking advantage of him for their own benefit. One of the most startling revelations to reach the public recently was an unnamed source's admission that Chrissy had been in continuous communication with Jim's competitors, who used his name to close backdoor transactions that ultimately caused him harm. Much more than a simple betrayal, it appears to be a concerted attempt to permanently destroy Jim Jones. The public is now anticipating the consequences as Jim faces increasing legal pressure. Both sides' legal teams are getting ready for an impending court battle, and it appears that this may be the battle of the evidence against Jim's life is overwhelming, and if Chrissy is convicted of financial crimes, the charges will only get stronger. Manipulation, Jim might be subject to severe fines or perhaps criminal prosecution, which would not only ruin his job, but also sort of controversy that has the potential to ruin lives. And let's not overlook the media frenzy that has the headlines everywhere. Location, and everyone is watching to see how Jim Jones, Sir Chrissy Lampkin, and Cameron's revelations about Chrissy are making waves around the world, with both supporters and detractors taking sides. For Jim's demand for justice, while others are attacking him and wondering how someone as strong and significant as Jim may have been easily tricked. But now the questions are about Chrissy and what she's like. The specifics are crucial to comprehending Chrissy's next move, and it's becoming increasingly obvious that her motives were far more intricate than anyone had anticipated, with several sources coming from report exposing Chrissy's involvement in financial schemes and connections to a number of dubious individuals from the underworld. And here's the worst part. Jim was completely unaware of Chrissy's true alignment, maintaining his reputation while covertly striking agreements with those who will use him as a pawn in a far bigger. Jim's once steady enterprise is now on the verge of collapse, and industry insiders are cautioning that the damage from financial mismanagement to potential legal action could be irreparable. Consequences, Jim's future is unknown. Yet the worst tragedy of all is that Chrissy deceived Jim Jones in the worst way possible after he trusted her with his heart, business, and future. Jim's mental health has suffered as a result of the increasing pressure, and he's been spent days in seclusion, consulting with his legal team and attempting to salvage what remained of his career. But regardless of how, Jim has always been a warrior. But despite his best efforts, the damage is too great and the fissures are too deep. Even the most skilled combatants occasionally question whether they can prevail in a fight. Is this the end of Jim Jones as we know him? Regarding Chrissy, she has been keeping quiet, according to reports, but it will happen eventually. Despite her best efforts, her reputation is in ruins before the truth about her conduct is revealed. The public is aware of what has been done, the walls are closing in on her, and it is getting harder to conceal the truth. However, only time will tell whether she is concerned about the harm she has brought to Cameron's family, who have been crucial in bringing Chrissy's transgressions to light, are now demanding a thorough investigation into everything Chrissy has been a part of their demands that Jim receive the justice he deserves, and they won't give up until all the facts are brought to light. As the legal dispute continues, we may anticipate more startling disclosures, and who knows? There is yet more to learn about Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's future. However, this narrative will undoubtedly go down in history. Will Jim emerge from the ashes? Or will Chrissy's network of deceit and manipulation destroys him permanently? Wow, what a wild ride this has been. The twists in this tale are completely out of control, but the real question is, will Jim? Can Jones rebuild his life and career, or will Chrissy Lampkin's web of deceit and treachery bring? The road ahead is uncertain, but we want to know your thoughts. He is down for good. The truth is out there. Do you believe Jim has the capacity to rise above the mayhem, or is this really the end of his reign? Chrissy, if you think she's guilty or part of a larger conspiracy, please leave a comment below. And let's begin the discussion. Whose viewpoints are you on Chrissy's or Jim's? The more we ask more questions as you read this article. Don't just sit there and hit because we're uncovering that comment area and provide us with your handle the entire mess. And hey, if you make sure you've hit that already. Click subscribe and press the bell to don't miss out on the most recent updates. We've received even more shocking disclosures approaching you, and I promise you'll want to watch this video and be the first to know. If you're looking for more drama behind the scenes, and tell your friends about it so everyone is able to participate in the discussion. We've only touched the surface of this astounding scandal, and you don't want to lose any time. What will happen to Jim, Chrissy, and the whole family will be monitored. Every curveball, and we'll be delivering the truth to you in any way. Startling, it might be. Subscribe and stay tuned. And ensure that you participate in this thrilling adventure that you won't regret. This is only the start, so let's continue. The approaching truth.